Welcome to People. I'm Shirley Lin. Well, today my guest is Nick Vasiljevic, who is the Managing Director of Pilotfish, a Dutch-German design and innovation company here in Taiwan. In fact, it started in Taiwan. Well, let's first welcome Nick. Hi, Nick.
Hi, Shirley. Good morning, and thank you for having me here.
No problem. It's good to have you here. And actually, the office is in Nagel, which is not too far from the radio station,
No,
right?
it's just down the road, correct?
Just down
Yes,
the road,
yeah.
right. Now, I'm really surprised that this company started in Taiwan, even though it's a Dutch-German company. Can you explain the background of this company?
Sure, I can tell you a little bit more about it, and I'd like also to go a little bit into the history of Taiwan.
Really?
Yeah, just a little bit, because if you look at Taiwan, has a very strong background in OEM and ODM, so manufacturing for big brand companies. And sometime in the late 90s or mid 90s, Taiwan started to move into OBM, original branding manufacturing. What do brands need? Brands need design. They need to look nice. They need to present themselves nice. They need to be to a world, which is interested in nice-looking products, and that's where we come in. Now, over 10 years ago, we also had the founders of the company here in Taiwan who saw this as a great opportunity because Taiwan had great manufacturing, great electronics and everything, but in design at that time, Taiwan was still in a very early stage.
So how old is this company? It started in...
Oh, it started in 2000.
2000.
So just around the time when you see, when you see this OPM kind of coming up more and more. So original branding manufacturing was something that started in the 90s, late 90s, and now of course it's a lot more strong with some very strong brand companies like HTC, like ASUS, and so on. But in the early to mid 90s, it was still primarily OEM, ODM culture here in Taiwan.
Oh, I see. Why Pilotfish? How did this name come about?
Well, the name actually, there's this, basically it has to do with, it's a funny name in some ways.
Is it really a fish?
It is the real fish that actually smells the food, and it swims with the shark. So the little pilotfish smells the food and tells the shark, go over there. And so the pilotfish swims with the shark eats the food, and the little pilotfish eats then a little part of the food. Now, what does that mean in the real world, in the world that we're in? That means we are a small but very smart company that works with big, powerful companies, and we make them, not to get to the food, but make them go to the money, and then we get a small part of their money, and they get the big chunk of the money. So everybody's happy in the end, and that's why the name Pilotfish.
It's a great name. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I always see videos of these whales and big fish with little fish on the side, but you never know what the names are. So those are pilotfish, right? Oh, that is so interesting. Okay. So in Taiwan, what is the market like here in terms of design and everything? I know you brought some stuff. Maybe you want to explain better by showing the things that you do?
Yeah, see, design is a very broad field. I mean, a lot of things are design, and design is also sometimes a little bit maybe overused. But to show you a little bit what we are doing, I brought a couple of products that I would like to introduce and also show to you the thinking that we actually have when we work with our clients.
That's good.
So to give you an example of, starting with this product, this actually used to be a software company.
You want to just hold it there for a second so that everybody can see? Yeah. And go on. You can just keep talking.
So I can, are we not off camera or are we still?
No, that's okay. Just go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
This used to be a software company. But they had a challenge. The challenge was that the users who use their software are not digital people.
Right.
Now you have to understand, a digital person loves to use a mouse and a keyboard.
Right.
But the people who use this type of device, and this is for mixing music, they are not digital people. They don't love a mouse, they don't love the keyboard. And the challenge was really that the clientele of this company just didn't like to use the software. But they loved the software because it was great, just they didn't like to, to interact with it.
Right.
So this company contacted us and said, look, we have this big challenge. How do we overcome that challenge? And we studied this and we looked into this and we realized that the users, the consumer of this of the product of their company, that these people are not digital, but they're analog people. And analog people interact in a different way with devices than digital people. So what we did is we actually put into this device a motherboard, a PCB, We gave it a very haptic, a very interface with with knobs and buttons, and we designed many products for this company. Some bigger ones, some smaller ones. This is something that I could bring with me, so fairly handy. And this has a very analog interface. Now this connects to the computer, to the software, but now you don't have to use a keyboard and a mouse. Now you can just use your basically this device to interact with the software, and you have a much better result. So this company became a market leader in that particular niche market, just because they're thinking for users and thinking about users.
So then I assume that it'll be like older people who use this than young people. Is that right?
No, this is actually for people who love mixing music and people who love to work in that environment. Now, this type of people, not everybody is digital nowadays.
Yeah.
This type of people, they are mainly analog people, and they love this type of interface to interact with the software of that company. So this company now is a hardware maker too.
I see. Because to them, they think that it's more easier to manipulate instead of using the mouse and the keyboard, right?
See, it is. Let me give you maybe an example in a different field. If you look at, you see this also with devices from many manufacturers. The volume button usually stays as a physical button.
Yeah,
because
button,
users, you, me, almost everybody is very used to actually interacting with the volume button in a physical way. Now, it's no problem to do that digitally. But who likes to really do this? I mean, there are some products that you have to digitally interact with in order to change the volume up and down. But users, or generally consumers, don't like to do that. So this is really about like the user-centric thinking, thinking about users and making users' life easier.
Right. Wow. That means you design a lot of stuff because you custom make every single thing to meet the user's needs, right? So just like, for example, this other thing, it's a hearing aid. You want to
Yes, I can show you. There's a couple of that we have in here.
In fact, we want to let our audience know that these are all award-winning designs.
Yes, all the ones abroad here, they're award-winning designs.
That's right.
But also they're successful on the market, which is another topic. But they're also successful on the market.
Now this thing here is a hearing aid.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you look at traditional hearing aids, and I didn't bring one with me, but traditional hearing aids are usually very gray, old, ugly devices. They don't have any type of they don't really feel attractive to the users. So what it does, there's nothing wrong with people who have to use hearing aids. But the moment you put a hearing aid into your ear, you start being considered, maybe, like a disabled person, like a person who, there's something wrong with you.
You get conscious.
You get conscious. Now, we said, why does it have to be like this? Because nowadays, even young people don't hear well, thanks to discos and MP3 players and all this.
You said thanks to discos.
Well, I mean, due to these.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Unfortunate, also young people sometimes don't hear well. But also, there is a different type of understanding of age. 50 years old is not old anymore. 70 even, is not that considered to be that old anymore, because people want to feel young, they want to feel hip, they want to be part of society. Now, if you have to put an old hearing aid, this type of old designs into your ears, it's not going to make you feel good.
I know.
So we said, why does it have to be like this? And so we designed together with a company back in 2007. This was one of the smallest hearing aids on the market.
Can I hold this?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
And the thing is that
it's really, really small.
It's really just about the user, because when you get up in the morning, you put it into your ear, and you feel good about yourself. This is a sexy device. Maybe people don't see it even because it's hiding behind the ear. But it's about the user and the person who has to use this hearing aid, and they feel good about themselves.
So how does it go? It goes kind of.
Yes, actually, it uses an ergonomic. There's a flat area. Every person has. Yes, correct. And there's also maybe these ones a little bit easier to manipulate. This is more. Okay. This is designed for the female market.
Two different.
Actually, yeah. This was done 2 years later and designed for the female market, and this was inspired by jewelry. Jewelry, because it's basically about people or women like to wear jewelry because it makes them feel good. So this also has an inspiration taken from jewelry, and it's not about showing off, but just about it's inspired by jewelry, and jewelry is something you wear, you put on, and why cannot a medical device be inspired by jewelry?
I see. Okay. And actually, it comes in a
Yeah,
very
it comes
nice
in a
case.
box.
You designed this
We
case
did that too,
right?
we did it too. And that has a little story. It resembles a whale, and whales communicate with sonar.
Yeah.
And so there is a little bit of a story behind that too.
Oh, wow.
There's the shape of a whale.
A whale
here.
from the side?
Yeah, from the side,
let me see. Okay, first the front, the top part.
Yes.
You know, so it is very nice.
So it's basically the design
And
we
then from
do.
the side, it looks like a whale.
Yeah, this is just a little bit of to give it a bit of a story, and to also explain that actually it's about communication and about how to communicate with each other, and this is all about communication, and it's a medical device.
And everything is all about beauty. You know, I think people want to look good now. I think people do care a lot about appearance, the outer appearance nowadays. Don't you think?
But also what we are looking at is more about the user, and also how do users interact with devices, how to make it easy for users to interact. Because you see, there is a difference that if an engineer, a person with a very smart person, engineering background, designs something, very often to interact with a product like this, you also need to have an engineering degree.
Yeah.
Now, there's more and more, and actually this has started with Apple and the iPhone. When Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone, suddenly you have a device that every little kid and every grandmother, could use, because it was something that was very simple to use, and something that had, at the time it came out, it was really intuitive.
Does your company have any part to do with the iPhone? Any part at all?
We actually have some, one particular device that is currently also available on the Apple Store. I didn't bring it with me, but it's a design of like a docking station for business use. And the story behind it really is that, most people nowadays don't use the land phone anymore.
Right.
Most people will use their smartphone. Now Apple, wants to go also into the business market, and so basically having this phone combined with a docking station that interacts with your internal network. Basically, you need to have something called like a special box that actually interacts with this.
I see.
You can then use your iPhone to make internal phone calls.
Oh,
so we designed something like this, and it's currently also available on the Apple Store. It's called the iFusion. But we also do some designs for user interface, and this is something perhaps that you might be interested in.
Maybe you don't have to move it. I think that's.
I don't have to move it. Okay. Yeah. Basically, this is a user interface. This was actually the very first interactive magazine app in Taiwan.
Really?
For iPad. The very first interactive iPad magazine app in Taiwan. And if you look at the iPad introduced in 2010, by a couple of months later, you had some companies like Richard Branch's Project Magazine, like Wired Magazine, making interactive magazines. And Taiwan was very, very quick in this. As a matter of fact, this started in December 2010, January 2011.
Okay.
And this was then made into a interactive iPad magazine app. And it was the very first one in Taiwan that we worked on. And we did the user interface on this.
I see.
So we made the interaction with it, and then you can basically interact with it. And you can also download it in the Apple Store. But basically gives you different modules of how to interact with it. And and you can do various things with it. So it gives you this type of like environment. So there are 20 in this particular case, 20 different modules that you can do things with.
Wow, very nice.
And also, for example, again, it's for the fashion market. You could dress her up, and then it's good.
Really.
Yeah, for example here, but there's so many other aspects on this. It's like 20 mini programs with it. But we did more with it. We did another one afterwards that had a different type of flow. But the key thinking here is that it's about the user, and it's the user interface to make it attractive and easy to use. That you don't think about the technology, but that you just use it intuitively.
Well, I guess this thing is for me, but I have to first get an iPad, right?
Oh, then that's.
Yeah, I love fashion. Wow. Well, so what is the most selling thing in Taiwan that you've designed, among Taiwanese people?
See, that's a very good question. But then I also have to tell you a little bit more of how we work. it is, we do one particular part, and we do that part extremely well. You know, these are user experiences, this is industrial design, this is user interface. But we are not touching your company's channels or sales. So, you know, I always say if a company has very lazy salespeople, it's not our fault. We cannot influence this.
Yeah.
If they have bad marketing, we cannot influence this. We can only do one part of everything, and we can do that very well. And we do that very well. But we cannot, you know, educate a person. You know, if a salesperson sleeps all day long, you will not, even if you have the best product in the world, you're not able to sell it.
Right.
You know, Apple is a machine. You know, Apple is a very strong, driven machine that has a very clear path and a very clear plan. It is not a bunch of guys who sit together and think that they can do something. They have a very strong marketing, very strong sales team, very strong product development team. Everything is very strong. That's why they have become one of the strongest companies in the world. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? So that's an important aspect of it, that we cannot influence everything.
True, obviously, yeah. Well, I understand that Pilotfish is a company that the government is trying to promote, because the Taiwanese government is trying to promote the, how should I say it, the design industry. We're going to find out all about this, but let's take a break first. Managing Director of Dutch-German company in design and innovation. It's called Pilotfish. All right, well, Nick, as I was saying earlier, the Taiwanese government is trying to promote its design industry, and obviously they're working a lot with Pilotfish. So in what sense can you talk about that, and why the government has kind of set one of its goals for the year 2013 is to promote its culture and creative, and which also includes design. Yeah, so can you maybe share about your view and what you know about the Taiwanese market?
Allow me to answer it, just to basically tell you why creativity is important.
Sure.
And it has a lot to do with how young people can actually have jobs 30, 40, 50 years from now. Now, everything they learn now, how can it be applicable 30, 40 years from now? So one way of making it more insured or more applicable is by actually teaching younger people about creativity, creative thinking, creative type of, the creative industry becomes important then, because it is an industry that has to switch and change with its environment. A lot of things that maybe a person learned 20 years ago in computer science is not applicable anymore. Or even 10 years ago in computer science is not applicable anymore. And you have to constantly learn more. But one way of actually making learning easier and becoming more adaptable to the future is by focusing more on creativity and actually teaching young people about creativity, which is not just maybe linear thinking, but maybe various thinking. I like to call it like the T-shaped people approach. Are you familiar with that concept? T-shaped
no.
people. But basically, it's like a very broad knowledge that a person may have, and one deep expertise. So you have this deep expertise, but you have this broad knowledge. And you can then draw from the knowledge you have. Let's say it's the arts, it's fashion, it's marketing, it's sales, it's history. You draw from this, and you can come up with creative solutions to issues, to problems, to challenges. And some people even say that even T-shaped is not enough. You have to be pie-shaped.
Pie-shaped?
Which is two deep expertises and one broad knowledge.
Oh, pie. Yeah, right.
The pie.
I'm thinking of the pie that you eat.
Not the... No. Yeah, well, that's nice. Okay. It's almost lunchtime, so we're getting hungry, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
okay.
No, but
pie.
yeah, you're right.
Right.
It's more. It's the pie-shaped thinking, and it has to do with what Steve Jobs said. It's about creativity is connecting things, and it's about like understanding how to connect different fields to come up with a solution to a challenge.
This makes a lot of sense because I don't know if I'm right about this, but Taiwanese people generally are very, when they are students, kids, they are very studious. How Taiwanese parents always, want the kids to study hard and very studious. But the thing is that they only know how to listen to orders from the teachers or supervisors or eventually their boss, but they don't really know how to think on their own and be creative. So now I think I understand why the government is trying to promote this industry, if I'm right about this, is to help Taiwanese people learn how to think on their own and be more creative in thinking. Am I right?
Actually, I think Taiwan people have always been creative.
Ah.
Let me give you an example. Like, I think the business sense in Taiwan is second to none in the world. The Taiwan people business sense is like in the DNA of the people.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Also, I see that there is, a huge kind of push and a huge kind of learning curve that has happened in the past 12 years in the field of design or industrial design, where we are in. 12 years ago, jobs were almost thrown at us. It was like something, hey, here we are, and then people were giving us jobs. But now we have to do a different type of approach. We have to, be more focused on the user and have to try our clients understand why we make business value to work with us. But I see this kind of really big, not just change, but improvement of the way Taiwan designers or creative people in Taiwan are more and more becoming globally active, and they are becoming bigger and bigger in the global scale.
Wow. Well, you're saying so many great things about the Taiwanese people.
It is true. It is true. It is very true. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what else have you discovered about Taiwanese people? Let's move on to there. Since you've been in Taiwan, you said how many years now?
Almost 6 years now.
6 years. Yeah. And actually, your wife is from Taiwan.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And what have you discovered besides Taiwanese people being creative? What has it been like working with Taiwanese people?
It's. Let me put it like this. Like, how can I say it? It is, nothing is easy in life. You have to work everywhere. And it is a difference if you come as a foreigner to Taiwan with money in your pocket and you want to spend that money, or if you come here and you try to get business from people in Taiwan. So you have to really prove yourself to be, providing a service or have a product that people need in order to be able to sell that. But if you come with money in the pocket and you're going to find a manufacturer, the approach is different. It's a lot easier because then people, of course, want to be, always they want to invite you in and they want to do everything that you're asking them to do because you have money in the pocket. But if you require money from your clients, and it's everywhere in the world the same, I suppose, it is a different approach. So, but what I've seen in Taiwan on another aspect, I'm still very impressed every time I use the Jaeyun, the MRT, the metro here in Taipei. Yeah. It's fantastic. It's probably, my wife can be at 11 o'clock at night anywhere in Taipei City and it's super safe. I don't have to worry. She doesn't have to worry.
Right.
In the metro system, it's very clean, it's very efficient. Basically, it almost makes people, the brain's dormant because you don't have to think. You can just enter the system and you can go anywhere in the world in Taipei, and it's very convenient. The time can be measured. The trains are running 100% on time. They're always it's always perfect. So I'm super impressed. Taipei also had, not anymore, but used to be the largest, building in the world. And we have to understand that this is in an area where earthquakes are very common, where basically 200-300 earthquakes happen a year.
That's right.
And I don't want to scare people because it doesn't scare people here, right? So generally.
Do you think that doing things here in Taiwan has been very different from where you're from? I know you're from Zurich, Switzerland.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Is it like a big difference? What things have you had to adjust to work in Taiwan or with its people?
Well, to be honest, I don't feel it was an adjustment because also I have to say that the field I'm talking to a lot of people who have been internationally educated and I feel people are very internationally exposed. Due to the fact that Taiwan is an island, it makes a lot of people travel the world. You yourself, I think you've had also a very interesting journey throughout the world where you've seen many things and
that's true. Yeah.
And experienced many things also. So yes, I think actually working with Taiwan people is a great pleasure. It's nice. People are actually very polite. Sometimes a little bit too polite, perhaps. But I like that.
You.
No, but I like that because you see, I always say you can be straightforward, you can be, very much to the point, but you can still be polite. Sometimes you have the feeling that some managers, they have to just shout around and be very tough in order to be considered to be...
You're not like that, right? You're not
I'm not trying to be like this. And I tell you also, one of the things that I like philosophy a little bit. And I read about Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the French or Swiss-French thinker, philosopher. He said that the greatest of all wisdoms is friendliness. So he didn't say that, you can have 10 PhDs, you can have 12 master degrees, you can have whatever you want to have. But if you don't know how to say thank you and please and could you and be polite, what do you really have? Wow. Because that's the basic education that actually your parents should tell you. And that's another thing I like about Taiwan, because in Europe now we have this new expression called sandwich generation. What does that mean? It means that, because of economic needs, families are now again living together and working together and staying in the same house together. And in some ways, this is actually very good, because you have maybe sometimes 3 generations in one house. Yeah. But in Taiwan, this is very common and normal.
Right.
And I love this. Because it shows the importance of family, and it basically makes you respectful to the older generations, and you also you interact with each other in a very nice and usually respectful way. And I hope that Taiwan will always stay like this, because I love that part of course, because it is the most important institution everywhere in the world is the family, and if the family is strong, you can also build a very strong state. And so I think this kind of institutional, this type of setup should be kept in that way, forever. And I see this so much in the Taiwan culture, embedded in the culture. Really? And I love this, and I hope it will never change. Because I'm not a big fan of like the, kind of Western thinking that when you're 18 years old, you have to move out, you have to live somewhere else. And now because of, sadly, the bad economy, people are moving back in, which is a good thing. But I think in Taiwan, it's always been embedded.
So how old were you when you left your home country?
Well, actually, I was a fairly young man when I started first studying in the UK, and went to the UK. But I always went back somehow. Okay. And I'm still in touch, of course, with many places in the world, and with my family, which is spread out all around the world.
I think you must value very much this Taiwanese, family kind of 3 generations living together, because
I love it.
You're away from home. So obviously you value this a lot.
See, home, I mean, this is I don't want to misquote if it was Seneca or if it was Cicero, but basically home is where your heart is. And it's not necessarily, home, I feel like my heart is in various places in this world, and one, of course, is here in Taiwan, but also in Switzerland. But I do feel that I feel very close here to Taiwan, and also the people here in Taiwan. Right. And I love the food. I mean, this is one thing most foreigners will tell you about the food, and the food is fantastic.
Yeah. What's your favorite? That's typically Taiwanese.
I'm going to tell you now something that is very typical Taiwanese, and it's going to shock the media, because the media has propagated against this so much.
Shock me.
Yes. One is chow tofu.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, I'm sorry.
Stinky tofu.
Stinky tofu, yes. And and this is actually something that may be surprising, because it is something that a lot of foreigners, I think the media has kind of made a little bit of propaganda by saying that foreigners don't like it. I even like the blood rice.
Oh, okay. The pig's blood cake, right?
The tiambula, every time you have the tiambula, and then you have inside of it, you have the rice with the blood. Yes, the pig's blood, and it's kind of a very kind of blackish type of looking rice. Right. I forgot the name in Chinese now.
猪血糕.
猪血糕, that one. And basically, I liked it a lot too.
Well, good for you. Good for you.
And the 100-year-old egg that they're talking about, that also foreigners don't like.
Right.
I like too.
You like all the ones that people don't. That
yes, interesting, right? Like. And also I cannot demonstrate it right now, but since we're in this type of conversation, that I can make a little bit of a joke about myself too. I'm extremely good when it comes to kweitze or chopsticks.
Oh, really?
And I don't know how
Chopsticks.
this happened. The first time I came to Taiwan, I picked up chopsticks, and I was already better than 90% of the population
Really?
in Taiwan.
Right, you can
And-
pick up peanuts, right? And peas.
Peanuts is not a problem. I mean, basically, it's more of when you see a fly flying around, I could catch it and throw it back.
Really? Okay.
Well, almost that good. But
Yeah. Well, I heard that there is one thing that you thought maybe Taiwan can do better is you really love history. And Taiwan, if it could work harder at preserving its history. In what sense do you mean by that? Because I think I remember reading your interview somewhere.
yeah, that
about
was a
this.
few years ago when I.
Yeah. But can you explain?
Well,
Because
I
I think you do make some sense there.
But interesting, since I said it, I see also that there has been a lot more done in that field.
Maybe because of what you said.
I don't think I have that much influence, but thank you very much that I'm part of this
Right.
influencing people who influence that type of decision.
Right.
But yes, I think already quite a bit has been done on this. But what I think history is generally an important aspect because one can learn so much from it. And not just from, there's so much that one can learn out of this. And I think it's very important to keep that understanding alive because past mistakes don't have to be repeated. But sometimes one has the feeling, and I don't want to elaborate too much on this, but perhaps you can understand what I mean. But sometimes I have the feeling that people just don't look at history at all because they think it's not important. But I think it is. And that's why I'm also very impressed by the whole aspect of having, different generations living in one household, because you can learn from the elder generations. I used to love talking to my grandparents because I was, of course, interested in history, but it was so interesting to see what the world was like, in their lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's at least, something one can engage in, and so easily actually in Taiwan, especially if the families live very close together.
Right. Well, a point well said. Well, Nick, it's been so much fun talking to you and hearing your stories, and you're definitely very versed in what you do, and you love your job, and you love the people
Absolutely,
here.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for this time.
Well, thank you, Shirley, and thank you also to RTI for having me here. So it's been fantastic. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for watching, people. I'm Shirley Lin.